He pulled a digital food scale out of his blazer, placed it gently on the restaurant table, and weighed the bread before even looking at her. Yes. On a first date. My friends, this is Scarlet Veil. And what you're about to hear is not a rom-com misunderstanding. It's not quirky. It's not he's just particular. It's the kind of story that starts mildly awkward and ends with you double-checking your passwords at 2 in the morning. Welcome to Lying Whispers, where we dissect internet confessions, questionable decisions, and the fine art of ignoring red flags until they wave back at us. If you've ever thought, well, at least he's not toxic, stay with me. Because tonight's story proves that sometimes the quiet ones come with spreadsheets. Before we begin, subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment telling me the exact moment you would have left this date. And share this with that friend who insists on giving him a chance.
Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end.
Now grab a coffee or whatever dramatic beverage fuels your soul, and let's get into this absurd little nightmare together. She wasn't actually named Olivia, but that's what we'll call her. 29. Marketing professional. Emotionally stable. Owns matching dishware. The kind of woman who believes in communication and not judging too quickly. Adorable. Olivia met him, well, call him Daniel, on a dating app where everyone values growth, hates drama, and is suspiciously into hiking. His profile?
Clean. Structured.
Corporate headshots, mixed with gym selfies. Bio read discipline is freedom.
Subtle.
Not ominous at all. They chatted for a week. He was punctual with replies. Polite. Almost calibrated. Then he insisted on choosing the restaurant because he had very specific nutritional philosophies. Not allergies. Philosophies. My friends, when a man uses the word philosophy about carbohydrates before you've even ordered water, your intuition should at least raise an eyebrow. But Olivia? She thought, wow, he's intentional. We love intentional. They met at a minimalist farm-toteable spot. Soft lighting. Jazz humming politely in the background. The kind of place where the menu describes carrots as heritage root medallions. Daniel arrived exactly 4 minutes early. He mentioned it. I don't believe in being inefficient with time.
Oh, good.
We're optimizing oxygen now. They sat. Water arrived. Bread basket followed. And then the moment that opens this entire saga, he reached into his inner pocket and calmly removed a compact digital scale. Placed it down. Powered it on. Set the bread on top. 118 grams. He nodded. Satisfied. Olivia blinked. Everything okay? She asked lightly. I prefer accuracy, he replied. Accuracy. On a first date. He didn't just weigh the bread. He logged it into an app. Took photos from 3 angles. Chewed exactly 32 times per bite. 32. Yes, he counted. Quietly. 1, 2, 3. Olivia found herself counting too, because once someone starts numerically chewing in front of you, your brain enters survival mode. Now tell me, are we impressed by discipline or filming a documentary titled Minimalist Psychopath? He asked her to place her phone face down. I don't like competing with distractions. Competing? Sir, this is dinner, not the Hunger Games. She complied, mostly out of shock. Then came the pin tweezers. When the main course arrived, Daniel requested a moment before eating. He pulled out small stainless steel tweezers and rearranged the food on his plate. For optimal consumption efficiency. Olivia felt something shift internally. Not fear.
Yet.
But the first whisper of it. Still, she stayed. Because curiosity is a powerful drug.
Dessert came. So, did the check.
And instead of splitting it in half like 2 civilized humans, Daniel calculated cost distribution based on estimated caloric density and oil usage. He had a printed sheet. Printed. My assessment suggests we're 73% compatible, he said calmly. With adjustments, we could reach 89. Adjustments? Olivia smiled politely while her soul quietly opened the Uber app. She stood to leave. And that's when the tone changed. By the way, he added almost casually, I understand why you left your previous position. The workplace instability wasn't aligned with your temperament. Silence. She never told him she quit. Her profile only said in transition. How would you know that? She asked carefully. I research before investing time. Research. That word landed heavier than the scale.
He continued.
You also changed your gym routine about 3 months ago. Your cardiovascular metrics likely improved. My friends. She never posted that. No gym selfies. No public data. So how? He smiled. Most people are careless with their digital footprint. Suddenly, the food scale wasn't the problem. The precision wasn't quirky. It was invasive. She left. He texted the next morning at exactly 7:17. Good morning. There is potential if you're willing to optimize certain habits. Optimize. Again. She blocked him. End of story? Oh no. 3 days later, she received an email. Subject line interpersonal optimization proposal. Attached a 6-page PDF with graphs, compatibility charts, behavioral modification suggestions, 12-month stability projections. Under areas for improvement, 1 bullet point read. Reduce high emotional load friendships. Translation: your friends are inefficient. That's when Olivia stopped laughing. She replied once.
Short.
I am not interested. Do not contact me again. Blocked everything. Changed passwords. Told herself it was over. Then she received a forwarded copy of the PDF from her own email address. She hadn't sent it. Her cousin, who worked in cybersecurity, checked her system. There had been an access attempt from a location near the restaurant. The day after the date. My friends, that's when it stops being eccentric and starts being strategic. A week later, a small package arrived. No return address. Inside, a black notebook. First page titled, Observation Log.
The date.
The time she arrived. Estimated steps from entrance to table. Number of times she touched her hair. Variables to assess. Close friendships. Work patterns. Movement routines. Movement routines. At that point, she went to the police. No direct threats. No explicit harm. Just deeply unsettling documentation. They advised her to document everything and block. And erase the chilling part. After she reinforced security, changed everything, and stopped reacting. Silence. Complete. As if the objective was never romance. It was control. Analysis. Superiority. And erase the uncomfortable reflection. Not all danger announces itself loudly. Some dangers arrive well-dressed. On time. With spreadsheets. And if you're wondering whether this belongs in the AITA universe, no, my friends, the real question isn't was she too harsh? The real question is, how many red flags do you rationalize before you leave? Would you have walked out at the scale? At the tweezers? At the compatibility percentage? Or at the PDF? Tell me honestly, because sometimes the scariest people don't raise their voices. They just measure the bread. Comment below, my friends, I need to know what you would have done in this situation. And remember, on Lying Whispers, the drama may be entertaining, but intuition? That's non-negotiable. Oh, you thought we were done? My friends, we were not done. Because just when Olivia convinced herself the silence meant victory, the universe decided to tap her on the shoulder and whisper, plot twist. 2 weeks passed. No emails. No anonymous accounts. No digital breadcrumbs. She started sleeping through the night again. She even went on another date, a perfectly normal human man who did not own portable laboratory equipment.
Progress.
Until a Tuesday afternoon. She was at work, mid-meeting, when her smartwatch buzzed. Not a message. A calendar invite. Title: Reassessment. Time: 7:17 p.m. Location: the same restaurant. Organizer: a newly created email address that looked disturbingly familiar in structure. My friends, the audacity. She declined it immediately. But then she noticed something that made her stomach drop. The invite included a shared document. She didn't open it. She knew better. Instead, she forwarded everything to her cousin again. And this time?
He didn't laugh. He's escalating, he said.
Now pause. Escalating doesn't always mean violence. Sometimes it means testing boundaries. Will she respond? Will she panic? Will she engage? Control thrives on reaction. Olivia decided something radical. She would not react. She documented. She reinforced her accounts with two-factor authentication, hardware keys, the digital equivalent of building a moat around a castle. And then something interesting happened. He tried one last time. A handwritten letter, delivered to her building. No threats. No insults. Just a single sentence. Resistance is inefficient. My friends, I wish I were exaggerating. At this point, the tone wasn't romantic. It wasn't even angry. It was clinical, detached, like she had failed an experiment. And that's when Olivia had her final realization. This was never about compatibility. It was about evaluation. He didn't want a partner.
He wanted a project.
A system to refine. A person to optimize. And when she refused to be optimized, she became a variable he couldn't control. That's what unsettled him. Now here's where the story takes a subtle but powerful turn. Instead of shrinking, Olivia got louder. Not publicly. Not dramatically.
Strategically.
She informed her building management. She notified HR at her workplace. She kept documentation ready. And suddenly the attempt stopped completely. Because control loses its thrill when transparency enters the room. You see, my friends, people like Daniel operate best in shadows and ambiguity, in that gray zone where nothing is technically illegal but everything feels wrong. The moment light hits the pattern, they retreat. And that was it. No grand confrontation. No cinematic showdown. Just silence. But here's the part that lingers. Months later, Olivia stumbled across a familiar phrase on a productivity forum. A user discussing behavioral optimization in romantic dynamics. Guess whose writing style it mirrored? Same cadence. Same obsession with efficiency. Same sterile tone. He wasn't looking for love. He was studying people. And here's the uncomfortable question. How many of us would have ignored the early signs because at least he's not toxic? Because let's be honest, he never yelled, never insulted her, never showed rage. He was calm, measured, polite. And that's what makes it chilling. Control doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smiles and calculates compatibility percentages. So let me ask you directly. Would you have left at the scale? Would you have laughed off the tweezers? Would you have been flattered by the research? Or would you, like Olivia, have needed the PDF to finally say enough? Because this isn't just a bizarre date story. It's about intuition. About that tiny discomfort we silence, because we don't want to seem dramatic. And here's the truth. If something feels off, it probably is. You don't need a spreadsheet to validate that. So now I'm turning this to you. Was Olivia too cautious? Or not cautious enough? At what point does quirky become concerning? Comment below, my friends. I genuinely want to know what you would have done. Would you confront him? Ghost him? Report him sooner? Or send the Excel to Netflix as a limited series pitch?
Talk to me.
And remember, on Lying Whispers, the tea is hot. But your boundaries? They should be hotter. You're still here? Good. Because there's one final layer to this story that most people miss, and it's the part that actually matters. About 3 months after everything went silent, Olivia thought of Daniel less and less. The fear faded into anecdote. The anecdote softened into dark humor. You know how trauma sometimes turns into a party story? Oh my God, did I ever tell you about the guy who weighed bread on our first date? Cue laughter. Cue disbelief. Cue someone saying, stop, no way. But here's the thing about people who operate through analysis and control: they rarely disappear completely. They relocate. One night, deep into a harmless scrolling spiral, Olivia found herself on a niche discussion forum about high-performance dating strategies. Red flag already. And then she saw it. A post titled, Case Study Managing Emotional Resistance in High-Potential Partners. Case study. My friends, who writes that about a first date? She clicked. The writing style was unmistakable. Clinical. Detached. Slightly smug. The post described a woman unnamed who showed adaptive intelligence but displayed resistance to structural refinement. Structural refinement. That's not romance. That's architecture. He described weighing food to observe tolerance thresholds. He described suggesting behavioral changes to test receptivity. He described pushing boundaries digitally to evaluate security awareness. Evaluate, not connect. Not understand. Evaluate. Olivia felt the air leave her lungs. She wasn't a failed relationship. She was data. And Harry's the most chilling line in the entire post. Subject demonstrated independence patterns inconsistent with long-term compliance metrics. Compliance. Metrics. My friends, we are not spreadsheets. At that moment, something shifted in Olivia. The fear dissolved. In its place,
Clarity.
Daniel wasn't some mastermind villain. He was a deeply insecure man disguising control as competence. Because let's be honest, you don't build compatibility charts for someone you see as an equal. You build charts when you're afraid of unpredictability, when you need to feel superior, when vulnerability terrifies you. And suddenly, the entire story reframed itself. The scale wasn't about health. It was about control. The research wasn't about curiosity. It was about dominance. The PDF wasn't about compatibility. It was about hierarchy. He didn't want a girlfriend. He wanted a system he could master. And Olivia? She refused to be optimized. That was the real threat. Now here's the part where I lean in a little closer, my friends, because how many times have we mistaken rigidity for stability? How many times have we thought, at least he has his life together, when what he really has is a need to micromanage existence? Control can look very polished. It can show up on time. It can speak calmly. It can even split the bill with mathematical precision. But if someone treats you like a project instead of a person,
Run.
not dramatically, not loudly,
Just firmly.
and Harry's the twist that makes this story almost poetic. Months later, Olivia met someone else. No spreadsheets, no scales, no performance evaluations, just normal human unpredictability, messy laughter, imperfect timing, unoptimized affection. And you know what? It felt better. Because intimacy isn't efficient. It's chaotic. It's vulnerable. It cannot be graphed. And that's the whole point. So when people ask her now, wasn't that guy just disciplined? She smiles and says, discipline doesn't require documentation of my step count. Now, I want to zoom out. Because this story isn't just entertainment. It's a pattern. We live in an era where optimization culture has leaked into dating, biohacking, high-value partner frameworks, compatibility scoring. My friend's love is not a startup, and you are not a KPI. If someone starts measuring you before knowing you, that's not romance. That's research. And unless you signed up to be a case study, you don't owe anyone access. So, let me ask you one final time. At what point would you have walked away? The scale? The tweezers? The 73% compatibility score? The PDF? The observation notebook? Or the forum post? And here's the uncomfortable bonus question. Have you ever ignored something similar because you didn't want to seem dramatic?
Talk to me in the comments.
I want real answers. Because sometimes the scariest stories aren't the loud ones. They're the precise ones. And if you take anything from tonight's whisper, let it be this. If someone treats you like a variable, remove yourself from the equation. Comment below, my friends, I need to know what you would have done in this situation. Would you have seen the red flags sooner? Or would you, like Olivia, have needed the spreadsheet wake-up call? I'll be reading. And remember, on Lying Whispers, we love the drama, but we never sacrifice our boundaries for it.